revealed the miraculous truth of the Nephilim, 7 incredible giants exposed by God's divine plan. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, as the world plunged deeper into wickedness, a man named Noah was found righteous in the eyes of the Lord, Genesis 6:9. In a land consumed with violence and corruption, where the hearts of men were filled with evil, Noah stood apart. He lived in a time when tales of the Nephilim, those fearsome giants born of the sons of God and the daughters of man, echoed through the valleys. They were mighty men of renown, tales of their strength and power inspiring both fear and awe. It was a time when God's heart was grieved by the direction of his creation, Genesis 6:5. While the world lived in mockery of the impending doom Noah proclaimed, he diligently worked on the great ark, guided by divine instruction. Each stroke of his hammer resonated with both purpose and trepidation. What if the giants, with their unmatched might, could stand against God's plan? With each plank secured, thoughts of the Nephilim haunted his mind, echoing their legends that suggested a power beyond comprehension. Yet his resolve to preach righteousness remained steadfast, the urgency in his voice often drowned by the mocking laughter of those who wandered in debauchery. Rain? From the heavens? They ridiculed. The earth had known not such a deluge, they scoffed. Noah persisted, sharing the weight of divine purpose while facing the pressure of growing ridicule. The whispers of impending judgment clashed against the cacophony of human folly, as a world destined for destruction closed its ears. As he placed the final planks into the ark, the very fibers of his being wrestled with fear. It was then that unusual clouds gathered, shifting the atmosphere with an ominous weight. The skies darkened, and a foreboding thunder rumbled in the distance. The laughter that once filled the air ceased as eyes turned skyward. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As the heavy droplets of rain began to fall, the ground trembled. The confidence of the Nephilim faltered under the weight of God's mighty hand. With every raindrop, the tales of their strength faded into insignificance as they found themselves helpless against the Creator's plan unfolding before them. The very flood that washed away mockery commenced with a force the world had never witnessed. In this moment of discernment amidst chaos, Noah clung to the promises of God, his faith ignited. The ark became a vessel of hope, though the cries of the lost rang loudly in his ears. Each roar of the approaching storm reminded him of the looming reality, the divine judgment poised to finalize its decree. Would his unwavering obedience save the faithful remnant? As chaos ensued and waters rose, Noah realized the power of faith amid uncertainty. The mighty Nephilim were rendered powerless as God's sovereignty prevailed. Yet, the real question lingered in his heart. What revelations about the giants would emerge from this deluge, unveiling God's grand design in the relentless storm? As Noah looked out from the ark, the reality remained. Understanding lay just beyond reach, waiting for the fulfillment of divine purpose. As the rain fell relentlessly, it transformed the earth into a vast expanse of chaos. In the heart of the storm, within the sturdy confines of the ark, Noah felt the quaking world beneath him, and he was not without concern. The waters climbed higher and higher, swallowing the land that had once been home, erasing the laughter and revelry that had mocked his warnings. With each tumult of the waves, He heard the cries of those left behind, voices choked by the torrent, and his heart ached for them. Yet steadfast in the face of despair, Noah sought the counsel of the Lord. "Will your grace be extended even now?" he murmured, his voice swallowed by the roar of the flood. "Have you not promised that you would save a remnant, that your covenant would endure beyond these waters?" He remembered the mighty hand of God, who had parted the sea for his people, recalling the promises that overshadowed the doom that now encircled him. On the third day of rain, the earth seemed to hold its breath. The tumult of creation echoed the spiritual battle that raged unseen. The giants of old, those fearsome Nephilim, roamed in shadows that lurked just beyond the crashing waves. Their earthly might meant nothing against God's decree, yet the remnants of their legacy stirred within the storm's heart. Would Noah's lineage face the repercussions of these ancient giants whose bloodline had mixed with humanity? The memory of them haunted him, echoing in the droplets that danced upon the ark's wooden roof. That night, the darkness was palpable, an all-consuming shadow that pressed against the ark. As Noah lay on the gentle sway of the vessel, eyes closed yet unable to escape the sound of the storm, visions came to him, visions of the giants, vast and strong, their faces twisted with rage and defiance as they sank into oblivion. "God of wonder," he prayed, "show me the significance of this judgment. What will become of the old stories after this flood?" In the stillness of that thought arose the truth that had been hanging in the air. The flood was not merely an act of wrath, but a canvas for God's salvation, a blank slate ready for a new beginning. With each day that dawned upon the breakthrough of light through the storm, the hope of redemption raged against the despair that clung to his heart. The rain continued, but so too did God's plan, pressing forth towards fulfillment. As he looked to the heavens, Noah felt the weight of revelation settle upon him. God was not finished with the giants. The waters would quell their legacy, yet their influence may still linger like a shadow among nations to come. And among the remnants of the great flood, perhaps even a divine remnant would rise. Just when the thoughts of annihilation seemed absolute, a sense of divine mystery enveloped Noah. What would become of humanity, and of the very genealogies intertwined with the fallen? The storm raged on, but with each pulse of the waters rising around him, Noah understood that the dawn of a new era lay ahead, intertwined with the remnants of old giants and the promise of his own descendants yet to come. God's sovereign plan was in motion, and although the world would change, the story was far from over. The waters would yet reveal their secrets, a harbinger of something greater than the judgment overtaking the earth, an epistle of promise woven through the strands of history. What new giants might yet rise in faith, birthed from the ashes of desolation? As the rain descended with divine fury, Noah remained vigilant within the ark, pondering the fate of mankind and the weight of the promises God had made. There, ensconced in the wooden vessel, he wrestled with the duality of judgment and hope. The deafening roar of the deluge that raged outside mirrored the tumult in his heart, a world torn asunder, rife with sin and rebellion, yet also a world preparing to embrace a new beginning. In the twilight hours of the seventh day, as he sought solace in prayer, the voice of the Lord reverberated within him, a gentle whisper amid the chaos. "Fear not, my servant Noah, for I have borne witness to your steadfast faith. As I established my covenant with you, so shall I weave a narrative of redemption through the depths of despair." His heart swelled with assurance, lighting a flicker of hope amidst the relentless storm. Meanwhile, the waters surged violently around them, forming monstrous waves that seemed intent on swallowing the very heavens. Within the ark, animals of every kind stirred uneasily, sensing the turmoil of nature and the burden of the moment. Noah rose to his feet, bolstered by such reflections. "All creatures, great and small, are safeguarded by your mighty hand, O Lord," he declared, raising his voice above the clamor. "You are our refuge." As days morphed into one another, a pivotal moment arrived, a light piercing through the endless grey clouds above. It was on the 40th day, amidst the continuous downpour, that Noah felt a sudden stillness. The chaotic symphony of the storm lessened, leaving a haunting calm in its wake. He ventured to the window of the ark, and peering out, he saw the waters had risen to their zenith, engulfing the mountains as the Lord had foretold. "Let it be known," he whispered, "that this judgment is not devoid of purpose." In his heart, the revelation was quickening. He felt a compelling reminder echoing the words of Moses, proclaiming that God's mighty acts were to be remembered through generations. Exodus 10:2. Could the greatness of the deeds that were unfolding before him merely be the prelude to an undeniable promise, one that would transcend the rising waters to culminate in a new creation? Days turned to weeks, as the waters began to recede slowly, revealing old terrain and yet an altered landscape. With each ebb of the flood, Noah began to understand that the act of creation was also an act of destruction, but one entwined with divine grace. As the waters withdraw, he mused, will the legacy of the giants remain buried, or shall it find expression through a remnant rising once more? It was then that a thought so profound struck him. The covenant of God would indeed persist, but perhaps within the descendants of his lineage there awaited a new revelation, a divine remnant birthed from the lessons of old. The Nephilim, once giants who walked the earth, may have fallen, yet their tale was not entirely rendered void. It was a cautionary flicker across the annals of human history. With eyes cast heavenward, Noah understood that what had been lost may yet find resurrection, shaped by divine will. Let the story of man and its renewal be etched into the eternity of creation, he cried out in fervor. And as the rain ceased, the sun began to break through the shroud of clouds, illuminating the ark, the vessel of salvation upon the mountains. The days of sorrow have passed, yet the promise of my faithfulness lingers. God's voice echoed within him, inviting a deeper understanding. Yet another mystery adhered to Noah's heart, a sense that he was merely at the threshold of something miraculous. What would become of the world now awakened, and how would the remnants of old giants interlace with the new? With world-altering revelations set to unfold, Noah sensed that stirring within, a new era was dawning upon the horizon, heralding the unfolding of God's sovereign plan. What miracles lay beyond the waters, and how would humanity steward the legacies intertwined within their very beings? As the days lengthened and the waters withdrew, a new horizon began to take shape before Noah. His heart brimmed with anticipation, for the promise of restoration burgeoned within him. The sun, at last unshackled from the cloud's embrace, cast its glorious light upon the ever-reforming earth. The lush greenery, once choked by sin, began to unfurl its leaves as if awakening from a long slumber. Nature itself seemed to groan with the birth pangs of rebirth, echoing the truths whispered in Noah's spirit. Noah turned within the ark, his gaze resting on the creatures, those wondrous inhabitants of God's creation. They were a testament to the divine covenant that lay shimmering in the promise ahead. Becalmed by peace, yet vigilant, he noticed them too, each one. The lion, the dove, the serpent, and the beetle, all reflections of the Creator's artistry, cradled within the vessel of salvation. 40 days after the rain ceased, Noah's spirit longed to see what God had wrought. He gathered the birds of the air and released them one by one into the freshening winds, praying they would find the world reset. The raven returned, its dark wings flapping against the dawn. Yet it was the dove, gentle and pure, which eventually came back, holding a freshly plucked olive leaf, a sign that life had begun anew upon the land. Noah's heart expanded with joy and trepidation. Nature was responding, yet what awaited them beyond the ark remained shrouded in divine mystery. He turned his gaze to the heavens, invoking the promise given to him. "O Lord, awaken the world, and let your plan unfold." With the receding waters and the freshened earth, Noah acted in accordance with the faith bestowed upon him. He meticulously led the animals from the ark, gladness and reverence filling the air. As each creature descended, he prompted them to multiply and fill the earth, a commissioning echoing God's words to Adam, as recorded in Genesis 1:28. Yet amidst the jubilant reunion with creation, a profound thought lingered in Noah's heart. What of the Nephilim? He pondered, reflecting on the teachings he had internalized regarding those giants of old who had sowed violence among men. Were they truly gone, or had their legacy merely transformed? Had God permitted even their shadows to serve a purpose, weaving a grander narrative of redemption? As their descendants began anew, humanity would thus inherit echoes of ancient transgressions. The lessons wrought from the flood persisted within them, a reminder that the heart of man was still prone to wander. Noah recalled the lessons of old, recognizing the potential for both greatness and destruction lay dormant within each soul. In solemn contemplation, with a heart both heavy and yet lightened by hope, Noah built an altar to the Lord upon the earth, a spectre of gratitude for the mercies displayed, an unblemished act of worship amid the wreckage of the past. He offered burnt offerings as a fragrant aroma ascended to heaven. God in his graciousness pledged never to destroy the earth again with floodwaters, Genesis 9:11. Thus, the covenant was established anew, marked by a vibrant rainbow against the azure sky, a symbol of promise that transcended the ages. Yet even with such assurance, a stirring unease remained within Noah. A celestial mystery begged to be unfurled, the legacy of the giants, now woven into the very essence of humanity. Their spirit lingered, entwined within the hearts of the rebuilding world. As he looked toward the mountains that cradled the ark, a shadow crossed his spirit. The weight for divine revelation was thick in the air. Could it be that the story of the Nephilim would resurface, not as harbingers of doom, but as pivotal players in the narrative of redemption? What were the dimensions of God's sovereign plan that only time could unravel? Thus, as dawn broke upon a world reborn, Noah remained on watch. There were questions simmering beneath the surface of reality, awaiting divinely appointed answers yet to come, revealing the tapestry of God's intricate purposes for all generations. And it came to pass, as Noah stood upon the firm foundation of the renewed earth, that the Lord spoke to him, saying, "Noah, you and your sons are to be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth." Genesis 9:1. With a heart now set upon obedience, Noah called his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and encouraged them to take root in this redeemed world, for the earth waited for their stewardship. As days turned into weeks and the seasons shifted upon the lands, the family re-established their lives. Each morning the sun rose in splendor, a promise of life stretching across the heavens. Yet, within the vibrant foliage and flourishing life, shadows remained, remnants of a world twisted by iniquity. Noah, filled with both joy and trepidation, often reflected upon the world before the deluge. "What lessons have we learned?" he asked, pondering deeply. He observed his sons as they toiled diligently, sowing seeds and tending to the creatures brought forth from the ark. He was reminded of their forefather Adam, who in innocence walked with God, untainted by the burdens of sin. Then one day, while wandering amongst the rising hills, Noah's heart stirred within him as he ventured further than before. He stumbled upon an ancient grove, the trees towering with an age that quietly whispered secrets lost in time. Beneath their watchful canopies lay remnants of strange artifacts, stones engraved with markings of the ancients, which had weathered the flood's fury. Noah knelt, tracing his fingers over the engravings, sensing an echo of the past woven into the fabric of creation. In that moment, Noah felt the weight of history. For while the flood had washed the land clean, Could it truly erase the legacy of the beings who had sowed destruction? He remembered the tales of those who were mighty, not solely in stature, but also in influence. They were the Nephilim, and though silenced, their story still lingered, waiting to be disclosed within the heart of man. That evening, as darkness settled over the land, a heavy mist surrounded Noah while he prayed. The inquiries of his spirit reached up toward the heavens. "O Lord, reveal your purpose in this rebirth. What shall be the fate of humanity, intertwined with the echoes of the giants who came before?" As he sought the Lord, a luminous presence shone upon him. A voice, gentle yet powerful, replied, "Noah, the legacy of the giants is but one part of a greater tapestry. For in their time there was harbored potential for both destruction and deliverance. Can you not see? The hearts of men carry the remnants of choice, the fight between light and darkness." With these words, a dawning comprehension unfurled in Noah's heart. Not unlike the generations that followed Adam, the descendants of the earth would grapple with their past. Their choices would weave either destruction or righteousness. The power of redemption lay not in the shadows of the giants, but in the light of truth shining forth through each soul, willing to follow God. Yet still there remained a stirring, an unresolved tension in Noah's spirit. The appointed time would come when the tales of the past would echo again, perhaps not as giants of flesh, but as giants of spirit, deception lingering amongst men, challenging their faith. Thus, as the sun set upon another day, casting golden rays upon his humble altar, the altar of restoration, Noah stood vigilant, kindling the fire of prayer. He realized that the true battle was yet to come, the ancient and the modern entwined, singing their melody of consequence. And in that moment, the air hung thick with mystery and anticipation for what would be shaped from the intertwining of this new generation with remnants of the old. He pondered, understanding that God's sovereign plan was intricately at play, waiting for the appointed hour when all would be revealed in the fullness of time. And it came to pass, in the cool of the evening as the stars filled the heavens, that Noah gathered his sons about him. The flickering flames of the altar danced before them, casting shadows that seemed to tell tales of old. With solemn eyes he spoke, "My sons, we stand upon the ground that has been cleansed from the wickedness that once reigned. Yet we must not be ignorant of the lessons buried deep within the hearts of our forebearers." Shem, the eldest, with grave concern answered, "Father, the stories of the giants, those who were before us, linger like the whispers of a haunting wind. What if their shadows stretch forth even now?" Noah nodded, understanding the weight of his son's words. Indeed, the remnants of their legacy speak not merely of stature and strength. They echo the choices, both noble and vile, that shaped their days. As they spoke, a sense of urgency filled the air, for the generations ahead needed guidance in the paths they would tread. Ham, restless and eager, interjected, "Then let us build a legacy of faith, that our children may not fall into the snares laid by the deceivers." Noah said unto his sons, "Fear not the past, for we serve the living God who creates anew. He has given us a covenant, yet we are challenged to uphold it in our hearts," said Japheth, his spirit alight with zeal. The words of Japheth stirred Noah's heart. He recalled the great promise made to him after the flood, a sign signed by the very bow of the heavens, a reminder that God would not abandon the earth. In that moment, he felt a weight of responsibility, for the unraveling tale of the giants and their new iterations would rise from within the hearts of men. As the night deepened, the Lord's voice pierced the stillness again, speaking to Noah as clear as the stars brightened the skies. "Behold, Noah, for I will establish my covenant with you and your descendants, and with every living creature among you. The onslaught of deception will not remain hidden forever. I have chosen you as the keeper of this truth." Noah trembled at the words, the divine intimacy wrapping around him as if touched by angelic hands. "What shall I do, O Lord?" he prayed, yearning for clarity. "Prepare the hearts of men," came the reply, "for the seeds of corruption are planted in the desires of the unrighteous. They shall rise from the depths of the earth, seeking to claim dominion once more. But I shall not leave the earth without witnesses of my promise. The truth shall set them free, anchored in faith and the obedience of my chosen." And thus, amidst the flickering shadows, Noah felt renewed vigor and purpose, for he understood the path laid before him was more than mere survival. It was about covenantal faithfulness and standing firm against the deceptive spirits of antiquity that would seek to mislead. At dawn, as the horizon broke open with light, Noah gathered strength, his heart set firm. He would guide his family towards righteousness, that they may be the light illuminating the darkness, the testament of God's enduring glory in a world longing for redemption. Yet deep within his spirit lay an unquenchable question, lingering like a soft breeze among the ruins of history. What will come to pass as the seeds of the giants intertwine with the hearts of men? And with this uncertainty stirred the essence of divine mystery, for the full revelation of God's sovereign plan remained woven intricately, waiting to be unveiled in the fullness of time. And it came to pass, in the light of the dawn, as the sun arose casting golden rays upon the earth, that Noah walked upon the ground of the promise, reflecting upon the weight of the divine covenant bestowed upon him. He gathered his sons, and together they set forth to cultivate the land. For the Lord had commanded them to be fruitful and multiply, filling the earth. As they worked, lamentations of the past crept into their discussions. Noah, mindful of the shadows, spoke, "My sons, remember that the deeds of men echo throughout generations. The foundations of this world are not merely built upon bricks and soil, but upon the very hearts of those who tread upon it." Shem replied, "Father, what if the wicked, who once roamed the earth and were cast aside, find their way back into the hearts of men today? Will we be measured against their legacy?" "Indeed," Noah said, "but the Lord has declared that we are a new creation. He has swaddled us in his grace. We must anchor ourselves in his truth." Then Ham, fervent in spirit, raised a thought. "But how do we fortify ourselves against what is yet unknown? How will we recognize the whispers of deceit should they arise anew?" Noah replied, "Let us be vigilant, for the Lord has not left us without guidance. His word is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. In all endeavors we must draw ever closer to him." As the days turned to weeks, Noah and his family strengthened their bond through prayer and labor. They built an altar unto the Lord, offering sacrifices of thankfulness for his unfailing love. Each evening, as the stars blinked above like glimmering promises, Noah reiterated the significance of their pact with the Lord and the weight of their calling. Yet the shadows that danced among the trees whispered of a restlessness stirring in unforeseen realms, as if the spirits of the ancient progenitors sought an awakening. It was as if the very earth itself felt the pulse of hidden giants poised beneath the soil, yearning for a revival of their influence. One night, as Noah prayed fervently, seeking the guidance of the Almighty, the heavens seemed to quake, and a voice, gentle yet resonant, filled the air. "Noah, arise, for you shall not only be a steward of the earth, but a custodian of my revelation. The hearts of men shall face temptations anew, but take heart, for I am with you." With reverence, Noah sought to understand the depths of this promise. "O Lord, what shall we heed? What shall our eyes be open to behold? Know this," the voice continued, "the semblance of the giants may appear in varied forms. Their essence shall whisper in the desires of men, fashioning idols that lead away from truth. But I shall raise a remnant, those who will stand firm in faith. And through the purity of their hearts they shall bring forth my testimony." In the midst of divine revelation, Noah trembled, his resolve ignited. He called forth his sons to remain steadfast, for the days ahead would be fraught with trials yet unseen. Prepare your hearts, for we are to be the harbingers of truth in a world that seeks to slip into shadows. As they closed their eyes in fervent prayer, echoing the heartbeat of their Father, a sense of urgency filled the atmosphere, charged with divine expectation. What had once been rebellious spirits now loomed upon the horizon, and a stirring questioned the fabric of their faith. Will this new generation boldly confront the giants of temptation that seek dominion once more? Divine suspense hung thick in the air as they sought the remnant of truth, for the unfolding of the sovereign plan of the Almighty awaited their faithful response. And it came to pass, after many moons, that Noah and his sons began to see the fruits of their labor. The earth bore crops in abundance, and the family gathered at the altar of the Lord, giving thanks and praise for his provision and the strength of their hands. Yet as the first sheaves were brought in, the shadows in the distance grew longer, and an uneasy silence fell upon the land. One evening, as twilight draped its cloak upon the earth, Noah ventured into a secluded grove to ponder the revelations of the Almighty. The wind carried a whisper, a reminder of the heavenly voice he had heard. "Prepare," it urged. "The hearts of men are prone to wander." As he prayed in solitude, a vision unfolded before him, and he saw the very earth quaking as spirits of the ancient past stirred from their slumber. In this vision, Noah beheld the giants, towering figures clad in the darkness of deceit and malice, forging idols from the very soil they had once been cast from. With their eyes blazing with fierce determination, they sought to reclaim the dominion they had lost through their wickedness. The weight of this foreboding filled Noah's heart with dread, and he fell to his knees, beseeching the Lord for strength and guidance. "Behold, Noah," came the voice of the Almighty, resonating through the rustling leaves. "The giants are not merely creatures of flesh and blood, but embodiments of ambitions and desires that lead my people astray. The spirit of rebellion seeks to rise again in hearts unguarded. Lord, how shall we stand against such forces?" Noah implored, trembling before the majesty of divine might. "Fear not, for you are not without armament. Remember my covenant, and let the truth of my word be your sword. For I shall raise in you a fortitude that shall not be shaken," the voice reassured. In that moment, a fire ignited within Noah's belly. He steadied his mind, knowing the path ahead was treacherous, fraught with lures that could ensnare any man unprepared. He returned to his sons and gathered them, urgency stamped across his brow. "Listen well, my children," he spoke, his voice a clarion call. "The giants of old seek not only to overpower us, but to cloud our vision and divert our hearts from the true path. We must remain vigilant, for our covenant with the Lord compels us to be fierce defenders of the truth." Ham, inspiration flickering in his eyes, replied, "Father, shall we not cry out against the darkness? Can we not reclaim what is rightfully ours?" Shem, ever wise, interjected, "But we must also discern, for these giants will allure us with promises wrapped in deception. We must hold truth tightly to our hearts, lest we unknowingly become idols ourselves." Thus they dedicated themselves to the word of God, poring over the scrolls that had been passed down from their forefathers and recounting the righteous acts of the Almighty. They prayed earnestly that their hearts would remain aligned with the will of the Lord. Days turned into weeks, and the family gathered each evening, perennial in their commitment. Yet within the quiet moments they felt the weight of a growing malevolence, reminiscent of the ancient days, encircling their humble abode. As they looked to the horizon, an ominous twilight settled heavily upon the earth, the heavens a cacophony of color. Sensing the change in the atmosphere, Noah raised his voice. "My sons, let us stand as one. The giants may come as darkness, but in our unity we shall shine as lights against the shadows." And so they strode to the altar, lighting the flames anew, a beacon unto the nations. In their hearts they held fast to a revelation yet unfolding, a covenant they believed transcended time and would reach across generations yet to come. Little did they know that the true confrontation with the giants of temptation lay beyond their view. It was a conflict that would shape the very lineage of mankind and reveal the sovereignty of God, even through hidden choices. The time for the divine revelation was drawing near, for God sought to unveil his master plan through the hearts of creation itself. And it came to pass, when the sun had set low upon the horizon, that a great tumult arose across the land. Noah and his sons lingered at the altar, their hearts burdened with the heaviness of the vision that had been bestowed upon them. Even as they prayed, a tremor coursed through the earth, a forewarning of the storm to come. Noah lifted his gaze to the skies, the clouds swirling ominously, and he felt in his spirit an urgency that drove him to speak once more. "Brothers, the winds carry whispers of peril. The time to prepare is now, for the darkness seeks to engulf us." Shem, his countenance grave, nodded in understanding. "Our ancestors faced giants before, and it is the same spirit that now stirs again. We must arm ourselves with truth and seek the counsel of the Lord, for in him lies our strength." Then Ham, fervor igniting his voice, declared, "Let us assemble the people of our household and spread the word of caution. They must be aware of the giant's resurgence that threatens the soul of our kin." In their unified resolve, the sons of Noah gathered not only their family, but the neighbors who dwelled nearby, recounting the covenant made with God, urging them to stand with faith against the encroaching darkness. And as word spread, many hearts were stirred, rising to share in the commitment to uphold the blessings of the Almighty. Days unfolded, with the family devoutly seeking the Lord. They offered sacrifices, their prayers ascending as incense before the throne of grace. Yet, even amid their devotion, shadows loomed ever larger, casting doubts within some who faltered. One evening, as they gathered under a canopy of stars, a traveler approached, weary and determined. He spake, "I have journeyed far from the lands of milk and honey, and I bring news more dire than you imagine. The giants have taken root among us. Their lures are potent, weaving lies into the very fabric of our lives. Many are enticed to worship the crafted idols of their hands, seeking safety in what is temporal rather than in the eternal." Noah's heart ached at the profound weight of this revelation. Shall we fear the giants that walk the earth, or the idols men choose over the Most High? For our hearts shall remain steadfast upon the foundation of his word. The traveler's grimace softened, for he recognized the truth in Noah's declaration. "You are wise, man of God, yet the allure of the giants is strong. Even among our brethren, some are seduced into complacency, forgetting the covenant set before our people." "Then we must teach them," cried Ham. "Let our voices pierce through the veil of darkness. Let every idle heart be ignited by the flame of truth." Thus Noah and his sons initiated a holy gathering, proclaiming the steadfast truth of God's covenant to every household. They called forth the faithful and those with wavering hearts, sharing the needs of their people to return to faith, to embrace the foundations laid before them by the Almighty. As the throng grew eager to hear, Noah called upon the Spirit, "May the God who delivers our fathers from the plague of old show forth his might among us now. We are but vessels, let his will be done." Then, as if in response, the heavens trembled, and a whisper echoed through the assembly. "The time is at hand," a voice proclaimed, "for the giants shall not only rise from the earth, but also from within the hearts of men. Prepare your souls, for my kingdom is made manifest through your obedience, and a greater battle than ages past shall be waged." And the people listened, hearts stirring. knowing that a great confrontation loomed ahead. For though the giants walked tall, the hand of God was ready to reveal the true nature of the struggle, a revelation intertwined with his divine purpose, one that would lead to the heart of creation's redemptive narrative. What awaited in the shadows was yet unseen, but they would need to gird themselves against the very giants that sought to claim their souls. And it came to pass that as the echoes of prophetic voices faded into the night, Noah turned his heart to the Lord, humbled yet resolute in his spirit. "O Lord," he cried out, "let your covenant stand firm upon the earth. You have shown me that the legacy of giants will rise once more, but we shall not cower in fear, for we know that our strength is anchored in you." The families gathered in fervent prayer, hands joined and hearts unified, expressing their trust in God's comprehensive plan. The giants of temptation may come, but they will not prevail against the wisdom and might of our God, declared Shem, his voice piercing through the veil of uncertainty. Amidst the sacred gathering, the sky shimmered with unnatural brightness. A heavenly glow illuminated the earth, and Noah felt a stir of divine presence around him, as if the very heavens were drawn to witness the unity born out of a rekindled faith. "Fear not, my beloved," came the voice of the Lord resonant through the atmosphere, "for I have appointed you as agents of light in this darkness. My faithfulness shall shine brighter than the most formidable shadows." With renewed vigor, Noah and his sons took to the hills, proclaiming the truth of God's promise, calling the nearby tribes to awaken from their spiritual slumber. "Return to the Lord, the mighty one of Israel. Stand firm against the falsehoods that seek dominion, for the giants will attempt to distract you from the path of righteousness," Noah admonished. As the people came, hearts ignited with fervor, they began to rebuild their understanding of God's covenant and his commandments. The teachings of old resonated with fresh light, showcasing how the lessons of Noah's forefathers echoed lessons of vigilance. "We must not forget the power inherent in our choices," Japheth reminded them. "We are the guardians of this covenant, inheritors of the promises bestowed upon us." Days turned into weeks of revival, with a palpable anticipation gripping the hearts of the faithful. The townsfolk gathered, their willingness to reclaim their heritage extending beyond the altar, spilling into their daily lives. They shared testimonies of past betrayals to the giants who had led them astray, and rejoiced in tales of old, heralding the faith that had prevailed. However, even as the embers of faith flickered, Noah perceived an undercurrent of strife bubbling beneath the surface, a resistance rising among those unwilling to forsake their idols or traditions steeped in the shadows of the past. "Watch, my sons," he counseled gravely. "The peril of complacency gnaws at even the most devout hearts." And there came a day when a thunderous gathering approached the altar, not with the sincerity of faith, but with accusations of backwardness. The leaders of these gatherings bore the air of elevated men, filled with a sense of entitlement steeped in the symbols of ancient worship. "These giants shall serve us," they proclaimed, satirical laughter mingling with their disdain for the righteous. "The old ways must evolve to align with our desires. For who holds power, if not those bold enough to seize it? Tremble not," Noah implored the townsfolk, "for we stand upon the truth that will withstand all deceit. The giants of pride, lust, and greed may masquerade as saviors, yet they cling to the fringes of destruction. Do not be deceived by their towering stature. They are but shadows cast before the light of God." In that moment, reality shattered the illusions. Silencing the jeering voices, an arc of brilliant light burst from the heavens, cascading down upon Noah and his sons. "I have chosen you as my voice amid the cacophony," came the Lord's reply. "Lift high my commandments and fill the earth with the testimonies of my faithfulness." Noah, strengthened by divine empowerment, stood firm before the jeering assembly. "Let not your hearts be troubled, for the Mighty One fights for us. What giants rise against us will yield to the steadfastness of our faith. We bear not a spirit of fear, but one of power and love, and a sound mind." As darkness swelled outside their refuge, hope ignited within the hearts of the faithful, who found courage encamped beneath the gaze of their Creator. The voices of dissent faded as the air grew thick with conviction and praise. Little did they understand that the very giants they doubted had long begun their descent into darkness, wrestling with the ripple effects of their own deceit. In that moment of unity, the faithful family once again gathered, raising their hands toward the heavens. "O Lord, reveal the depths of our hearts, strengthen us to confront the giants within and without, to usher forth a new dispensation of faith that will not bow to empty promises." As dawn broke and the first rays of light ignited the horizon, a transcendent hope surged through the crowd. Their resolve strengthening, Noah and his sons declared, "We commit ourselves to your covenant, O Lord. In the liberation of our souls, we proclaim victory over darkness. Together, we will be the light against the giants that dare to loom large." Thus it was in their collective faith that the giants would no longer wield power over them. Their praises ascended like incense, the atmosphere saturated with hope. In the end, as Noah surveyed the land flourishing beneath a covenant promise of revival, a sense of fulfillment engulfed his spirit. The giants had not vanished, but had been rendered powerless by the faith of God's chosen. Their whispers no longer haunted the earth, and with each passing moment, the legacy of the giants transformed into a testament of redemption. And so feel compelled to share this message, for as God fulfilled his promises with Noah, he calls us to declare the faithfulness of the Lord today. If this story of renewal has stirred your spirit, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next powerful biblical stories. Leave a like now to help spread God's word through the algorithm. Comment your spiritual reflections and share out from your heart how this biblical account has uplifted your faith. Finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth today. You need to subscribe now and stay connected to God's word, for this is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with those who long for divine revelation.